Hello, I'm James Golding from the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts, and today I'm going to be making some maple cured Hampshire trout with some beetroot cream, some radishes and a beautiful shallot caper dressing. First of all, we're going to cure the Hampshire trout and we're going to fillet it. So when you're curing and filleting, the most important thing is to use a flexible knife. This knife's got a bit of a bend on it, so we're literally going to go straight into the back bone of the fish. And you just run your knife gently down the back here. If you miss the backbone, don't worry, you can go back in and you can reposition the knife. But the idea is that when you've got in there, you're just running the knife down these little pin bones. Unfortunately, you can't get them out when you fillet it like this. They're so minute. So we're gonna take a peeler and we'll take them out ourselves. You can obviously get your fishmonger to do this for you if you want to, but I quite like leaving it on, especially if you're not going to do it straight away. It means that you get a nice firmer fillet once you've taken it off. So you don't want any meat left on this bone really, so you know you've done it right when it looks like that. So flip it over and you can see there that you've got the belly left on the fillet. So just take your knife, angle it slightly and just trim that off, and then flip this round. You're going to just trim off these little bits here. Anywhere where you can see white, you kind of want to just trim that off really. Now, another way to do it, so if you haven't got a peeler, another way to do it is with a little paring knife. And all you're going to do is just pull these little pin bones out. So, we're going to place that on top of those guys, and we're going to make our cure. And this is the fun part. I mean, the cure is what gets all of that flavour into this trout. It's really not a hard thing to do. All you need is the basics of stuff that you probably already got in your larder anyway. So we're starting off with some rock salt. I always use rock salt when I'm curing, because when you use fine salt, what happens is that the flavour and the sodium get into the fish so quickly that it becomes very salty. But when you use rock salt, it takes a bit longer to break down those large crystals, so you find you get a more even cure. So you want equal amounts of salt to the maple sugar. And when we went out to Canada and we learnt all about the different products and all the different varieties of maple, this was something that, that came up at one of the sugar shacks that we went to. I started playing around with this, and this actually makes it 100 times better, because you're able to use it in the same way as you would normal sugar, but obviously you get that fantastic maple flavour that works into this dish. So that's gone into the cure. We're going to add in a little spoonful of black pepper. Now, we're going to give this a mix around. Now we're putting in we have these amazing lemons. So when you're zesting, I like to use a microplane or a grater like this with a very fine tooth on it. We're literally just taking off that outer zest. It's important that you don't get too much of this white pith into it, because that can make it a little bit bitter. You're going to do about 3/4 of a lemon and then straight into the cure. Going to give that a mix around. Like that. We've brought some dill as well. Dill is a fantastic accompaniment to trout. It just adds a lovely, slightly anisey flavour. 2 tablespoons probably do the trick right now. Roughly chop, it doesn't need to be finely chopped. So, mix all this together. What I tend to do is I tend to take about half of the mix out, make a nice base, and then just sprinkle this over the top. So the idea is that you cover the entire surface of the trout. That's all beautifully cured, ready to go. And we're going to put this in the fridge for about an hour. So next up, we're going to do our confit shallot dressing. It's basically banana shallots, and we're just going to prep these down and chop them very finely. I love the shallots. They've got such an amazing sweetness compared to onions. So cut the shallots in half. And then with shallots, if you look at the root, that's going to hold all of it together when you're chopping it, and it stops it from falling apart. It's very important that you do the claw when you do this, so that you don't chop the end of your fingers off, and that's a chef's secret. You probably want about 3 shallots for this recipe. Nice and close. Once you've chopped your shallots, they go straight into your pan. You want the pan to be cold. Into this, we're going to put some beautiful thyme. You just want to break it down. You don't want to chop the thyme, because we're going to take this out as well. We're going to add in our garlic. There's lots of different types of garlic. I prefer the slightly pink garlic. Isle of Wight garlic is a fantastic garlic for this. We're just crushing it with the back of a knife. 2 cloves is probably enough. We'll also add in some stalks from the dill. 5 or 6 stalks will do it. And then we have our oil. So we use a mixture of rapeseed and olive oil, and you just want to lightly cover the shallots. As this cooks, the shallots will condense down, and you'll find that you end up with a lot of oil. So don't put too much in, because otherwise it just becomes a bit oily. And then finally, we've got this amazing stuff. This is maple vinegar. I love this. This is my new go-to vinegar. I love the flavour that it has. I love the way that it's so diverse within dressings as well as cooking. You can make glazes with it. It's amazing. And I never knew about this up until about a year ago. So this is my secret ingredient for the confit shallot. And you want about 2 tablespoons going in there. And that's just going to give the whole dressing a lovely lift as it cooks. To this, I'm also going to add lemon zest. Same reason as I did for the trout. You've got those fantastic oils, that sort of amaranth flavour. It really just permeates through the dressing. So that's going in. So just going to give that a little stir. And then we're going to place this on the heat on a very low flame. Basically, you want it on your lowest setting so that it cooks nice and gently and it doesn't burn. Every sort of 5 or 6 minutes, just have a little look, make sure it's not catching, and then this is ready when the shallots are lovely and tender. Okay, so while that's cooking, we're going to make up our beetroot cream. This is going to add a lovely freshness to the dish. I like to use creme fraiche, but you could use sour cream as well. I'm going to add into this some of our beetroot juice, and this is from beetroot that we've had preserving. A lot of people just throw this away, but in actual fact, it makes the most beautiful dressings, and for today, it's going to add a lovely visual impact to our trout dish. You know, it's just the most beautiful thing. I love adding colour to dishes, and beetroot's one of my favourites. And so into this, we're going to add some horseradish root. You don't have to put it in, but I think that it adds a lovely little spiciness to the dish. Just take off the outside, and we're going to grate this. And we want about 2 tablespoons worth of grated horseradish. So, I'm going to put this into our beetroot and stir that round. So this is going to be the base of our dish. So for garnish, we're going to use some of these incredible radishes. I mean, we grow these all year round, and I absolutely love the colour of these, the flavour of these. They've got a fantastic pepperiness that works so well with sweet fish. So we're just going to slice these nice and thin. So the radishes are now in the water, trout's all washed off, and we're just going to put it onto a bit of paper just to absorb any excess liquid and just pat it down. You've got to be really gentle with this. So onto the board with your filleting knife, you literally just go in at the end, hold on to the end of your trout fillet, and then just run your knife, give a little bit of a wiggle on the skin, and you should end up with a beautiful trout fillet all ready to go. So that goes in the bin. You don't want to chop it down into tiny little bits. We want to be able to get a little bit of that firmness of that flesh. So I take it to about 1 centimetre cubed. And it's very, very simple. We're just running the knife through the fillet. Like I said before, keep an eye out for any bones that you may have missed. There we go, I missed a couple. Just pull those out. So they're very easy to pull out now because it's been cured. So slicing down, and the other way, like so. So into the tartare, we're going to add in some lovely little additions. So we have some lily-put capers here. We probably want about a tablespoon of the capers going in there. We're going to add in some chopped flat leaf parsley. We're going to chop this down just roughly. That goes in. Lemon juice. Lemon juice will help to bind everything together a little bit. Now, you don't really need to season this with salt. You've had it in the cure for all that time, and you've got the capers in there. You shouldn't really need anything else. I'm going to put a splash of the maple vinegar as well, just a tiny splash in there, because I think it adds a nice little bite to it. So we're now going to plate up our dish. I'm going to begin with our beetroot and horseradish cream, and we're just going to put a nice amount in the middle and spread it out. That's what's going to give it all the colour. Then we're going to use our ring, set that in the middle, and add in our beautiful cured trout. So we're just pressing that in slightly, don't hammer it in there, we're just literally lightly pressing it on. We're going to get our dressing. So this dressing should be nice and soft now. We don't want any of the garlic or thyme or anything that you put in there. This is literally just a lovely little accompaniment that's going to dress around the plate and add that sweetness, and sweet and sour essentially is what the flavour is of this dressing. So a little bit of the oil around the outside, and then just to finish we've got our radishes. So we just want to add on some of these guys just randomly. It just lifts the whole dish. It also adds a lovely crunch. We're also going to use some dill for a bit of greenery, very important. And with these you want to take a nice big ploosh of dill. Don't take tiny little bits because it won't look right, and literally lay them straight onto your dish to give it a lovely contrasting element. And there we go. That's our maple cured Hampshire trout with beetroot and horseradish cream and confit shallot dressing and radishes.